So you grew up in New York listening to FAN. You called
Yeah.
into the station when you were a kid. You dreamed of being
Mhm.
on the air. So which moment in your career at FAN was the moment when you thought about young Sal's dream of being on the radio? Was it when you first became an intern or when you first had your first air shift?
That is a great question.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in the country. I'm Stacey Gotsulias, alongside my co-host Brian McKeon. Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The conference round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode, so visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. On today's show, we're talking to Sal Licata, a WFAN alum, current SNY host who is never short on opinions and does not have a filter, which we found out while we were recording with him. We'll be discussing the current state of New York baseball, both the Yankees and Mets, and we'll find out Sal's take on the Mets' habit of loading up on ex-Yankees.
Our next guest on Locked On Yankees is one of the more popular New York sports personalities around. This guy lives, eats, and breathes sports, from starting out as a WFAN intern in 2003 to being a board op, producer, hosting middays. He has done it all in radio. In 2010, he ventured over to TV at SNY, where you've seen him on Geico Sports Night and Baseball Night in New York, becoming a multiple-time Emmy-nominated host. Please welcome a massive Mets fan and New York sports diehard, Sal Licata. Sal, what's up?
What a great intro right there, Brian. Appreciate it. How you guys doing?
Doing great. I love having you on my Yankee show because you are notoriously a big Mets guy. So I'm very excited to hear some of your Yankee takes. But I do want to say one thing before I ask you your first question. I not to get emotional, but I do want to thank you for all that you've done for me in my career. I worked a lot of overnights with you, running the board 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Sal was one of the first people that when I started hosting actually gave me credit for hosting. Would ask me, what would you lead with here? What would you do here? Instrumental in starting off my career. So I just want to take the time to publicly thank you for that kind of stuff, because you gave me a lot of confidence starting out.
Appreciate that. And you were ahead of the curve because you left the fan and the part-time shows to do your thing on your own. And that's really the future of the business. Some of us were forced to leave, but good for you. You always worked hard at it, and good to see you having success outside of the fan doing shows on your own.
I will say this. The end of 2025, I would consider one of the worst endings of a year in the sports media industry. And every year we kind of see things change in this industry, but 2025 was brutal. I mean, there were stations closing down, people behind the scenes lost jobs. And unfortunately, one of them was your show, which was popular. You deserved your way there. Your co-host, Brendan Tierney, deserved his way there. And to my opinion, you guys were unceremoniously let go. You should be proud of the work that you did at WFAN, but what do you have to say on the way that it ended?
I am proud of the work that I did there, and I'm appreciative of the opportunity. I'm glad that we had a couple of weeks to say goodbye. Usually it doesn't happen like that. Didn't plan that. I didn't know how it was going to go, but it was, I don't want to say fun. What was nice for me is I was proud of the job BT and I did together under difficult circumstances. But the more important thing was the way that those shows resonated with the audience. And I was happy. I was proud of the shows that we did and happy to see that people, for the most part, I mean, there's always going to be some negative comments and things like that, but people, for the most part, were appreciative of the way that we handled ourselves and the show that we did, over the 2+ years that we had the opportunity to do the show.
So you grew up in New York listening to FAN. You called into the station when you were a kid. You dreamed of being on the air. So which moment in your career at FAN was the moment when you thought about young Sal's dream of being on the radio? Was it when you first became an intern or when you first had your first air shift?
That is a great question. So I first always wanted to be a part of the WFAN family. So it was never obviously I wanted to be on the air and I would call in, but I always just wanted to be hanging out with Mike and the Mad Dog and Steve Summers. So to get my foot in the door as an intern, that was like, God, I'm here. I'm a part of it. And then to be working on some of those shows or working with those guys in the newsroom and to be a part of it, that's just even not just the main guys, just behind the scenes, the camaraderie that we had. Those were always my most fond memories. Now, doing your first show from the studios that Imus used to broadcast in, that same chair, that same setup, Mike and the Mad Dog back in the old days, like that was an honor that I don't even think a younger me. This was 2006. I had my first chance to do a show overnight Christmas Eve. I believe was my first one, and then I had one on New Year's Eve as well. I don't think that I even was mature enough to appreciate what the just happened. Like, think about it. 20 years later, you're doing shows on the midday, and yeah, you have a greater appreciation for it. But to go from working at Home Depot to intern to 3 years later having a show on the fan, like that is a huge deal that I was too young to fully comprehend and appreciate. But there are too many to name one, but those are my fondest days back to Astoria, even before I was on the air as a regular, host.
What do you think of New York as a sports city? Because I know the bigger cities around America, especially the historical ones with older teams, you kind of have the more passionate fan bases. But you dealt with a lot of different spectrums of FAN callers, because you have the midday caller, people that are up during the regular hours, and then you have the overnight caller, which is a different breed, as we all know. How do you think of New York as a sports city? Because I think every kind of city has its own different kind of fans. Do you think New York's a very educated sports city? Do you think it's a very aggressive sports city? How do you take it?
I think it's a probably the best combination of all. Now, look, it's all I know. I've never worked in another market. Obviously, I know enough about the Philadelphia fans or the Boston fans or California fans or Atlanta fans, how some are laid back. Some don't care as much as we do here. The one thing, I don't know if I'm envious of it, but I'm curious what it would be like to cover just one team in each sport, because there's a great divide in New York. It's the Mets fans and the Yankees fans. It's the Jets and the Giants, Rangers, Islanders, Devils, whatever, Knicks, and not so much Nets as much, but you get the point. Whereas in other markets, it's all Eagles, all Red Sox, all Patriots, all Phillies. We in New York are kind of robbed of that, and I don't like the divide. Like, if I say something positive about the Mets, oh, it's because you're a Met fan. Or if I say something negative about the Yankees, oh, it's because you hate the Yankees. That's not true. So I don't like that. And I grew up listening to Mike and the Mad Dog, who could talk about every team with the same passion, and it didn't matter who they grew up rooting for. Nobody knew, outside of Mike being a Yankee fan and Dog being a Yankee hater, it didn't really matter. And even that didn't really matter. So that's maybe the one thing that I'd be curious with if we just had one team. But I wouldn't trade like New York. I am a New York sports fan. I love New York sports, all of it. And I think it's great that we have the luxury of all these different teams. I just wish the teams were better than the fans were. I think the fans are better at what we do than the teams are at what they do.
Wow, good. That's a really good take. It's a really good take.
So you've worn a lot of hats in the New York sports media. So you were you're a media producer, you're host, you debate on TV. How did each role shape the broadcaster you are now, and which one of those is your favorite thing to do?
You mean like be a host on radio versus TV host? You're talking about?
Yeah, or being a host and then being on the kind of show where you kind of not fight with people, but you kind of have conversations with people about certain subjects.
I like being on radio because it was the complete control of whatever you want to talk about, and it doesn't have to be specific to sports. Like, I loved doing stuff outside the box, and I think that that's the way the medium is going. You have to do more of that stuff and be an entertainer, and personal stuff. I talk about my wife or my experiences. That stuff I love doing, and you can't really do that on TV. That being said, I love the fact with TV I could just be on a show, host a show, and be on there's three other people on the show, and we just have a good back and forth, and there doesn't have to be the nastiness with the callers or the fighting and different type of debate or energy that you would get on occasion from some of the phone calls that happen on radio. So I think it's a good balance of both. And one thing that I learned coming up through the ranks was just taking a little bit from everybody. Oh, I like that about this person, or I don't like that about this person. And I worked with some of the greats for many years behind the scenes. So I would always try to take a little bit learn one way or another, good and bad, not just from the people on the air, from the people behind the scenes. There were people ahead of me, let's say producing, that I was like, oh, okay, well, if I were ever in that spot, I wouldn't do that. But if I were in that spot, I would do this. So little things that you learn from every facet along the ways. Those are things that have helped me throughout my course of a career, which helps you relate now to people who are on the other side of the thing, producing for me or whatever it may be.
You've gone through all the stages really through the media career, which is kind of cool. Like you didn't just start as a host. You really grinded behind the scenes. You cut tape, you produced all that kind of stuff. That FAN has obviously produced a ton of talent throughout the years, right? There's a ton of people in the media industry right now that started their career out at FAN.
Yeah.
You being one of them, obviously. But over the last couple of years, there has been another influx of, talent that's come out of FAN. Emmanuel Barbari, one of my good friends, one of them.
Yeah.
JJ, Pat Boyle. There's a lot of talent. Can you see that in people when they get hired at first and then when they start speaking to you at first? Is it obvious to you early on who can make it and who can't?
Honestly, no, Bri, because you have to understand that a lot of the times when I was working with a lot of the younger guys coming up, while I was aware of their situation because I lived it, I was also focused on my own situation, trying to build myself. I was never really in a spot, even on the middays, I was never in a spot where I could be a Francesa type to one of the younger guys and really look for that. And I'll give you a great example. Pat Boyle, you mentioned his name, right? Even Emmanuel. I worked with Emmanuel. He did the overnight just like you. I never looked at those guys, especially early on with Boyle. Like Boyle, I thought was a little aggressive and over the top. Now he's one of my favorite people, and I do believe in him wholeheartedly as an on-air talent. And I'm happy that he landed on his feet getting one of the jobs that were remaining there. But so that's somebody that early on, it wasn't just like I said, oh, he's got it. Now, I did discover that at some point along the way, but it wasn't initial. Same thing with Emmanuel. Emmanuel was just a good, quiet kid, hard worker, did his thing. And now I work with him I just did a show with him on SNY. He was on the panel with me, and he is terrific at what he does. So it's something that I did see eventually, but it's not something that I was actively looking for because I was just focused on trying to make myself the best that I could be.
Coming up next, more with Sal Licata and his thoughts on the Yankee future. The conference round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get involved in the action because right now, every single NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets that you like the most. Open up your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts that you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. You see different things happen throughout the game, and you can get involved whenever you want. The boosts give you more juice on the bets that you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. And every play can feel bigger, and the boosts let your bets feel that way too. You make your picks, then you apply your profit boost to go get to even bigger payouts while the playoffs continue to roll. So here's what you do. Visit FanDuel, it's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every single playoff game day. We want to thank you guys for making Locked On Yankees your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you listen to Locked On Yankees every single day and haven't joined our Everydayer Club yet, I mean, what are you waiting for? You get ad-free episodes because who doesn't love that? And on all of our favorite podcast apps like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, you'll get access to our members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord with a group chat just for Locked On Yankees listeners. We'll drop breaking news, tease upcoming shows, we'll add stuff during games, and we'll be in there chatting, complaining, and celebrating right along with you throughout all 162. Head over to lockedonyankees.supercast.com, scan the QR code on the screen if you're watching us on YouTube, or click the link in the show notes to learn more. Well, it wouldn't be a Locked On Yankees show without my daily Cody Bellinger question, and I have to give it to Sal. So it does seem like the Mets have kind of fallen out of favor with Cody Bellinger, but honestly, I'm not really sure what's going to happen this offseason. I want to focus more on the Yankee, though. What is the priority the Yankees should have towards getting Cody Bellinger back? I think it should be full force at this point, right?
All right, me too, but let me ask you something. Why are the Yankees not involved on Kyle Tucker?
That's a great question, honestly. Especially with the price going down. Because the price has gone down with Kyle Tucker, it seems like.
Well, I don't know if it's okay. So the latest reports are that the Mets offered Tucker $50 million a year, but you're talking 3-4 years. Now, I don't know how it's going to play out. Maybe he goes to the Dodgers, Toronto. Maybe he does go with the Mets. What I do know is that it is now factually reported in multiple spots that those are the 3 teams most aggressively pursuing Tucker, whereas the Yankees a year ago were all about Kyle Tucker. They tried to trade for him a little bit before the season. They didn't want to give up Luis Hill to get him from the Astros. And then all season long, it was, okay, well, we could lose Soto because they're going to go after Tucker next year. Going to go after Tucker. And now it's like, where are the Yankees? Now, I do think Bellinger's a great fit. And I think the Yankees' offer for Bellinger is more than fair. 5 years, $30 million plus, or excuse me, $30 million per year. That's like, I would not go beyond that. But what I would do is pivot and go after Kyle Tucker. It doesn't make any sense to me. Well, the Yanks at least wouldn't be in the same realm as the Mets, Dodgers, and Blue Jays.
I'll give you this. I think that report that came out the other day that Cody Bellinger's been offered a 7-8 year deal, $38 million. I think it's a complete lie.
I think it's that. I didn't see that.
It was Heyman and Passan that had it come out that it was $37 million a year. My thought is that Scott Boras kind of is telling the Yankees that, hey, these are the deals we have. This is the offer we have available. But it's not getting offered to him because I can't imagine anybody's giving Cody Bellinger that kind of offer. And I think he's trying to bleed the Yankees out of more money. He did the same stuff with Alonso last year, if you remember, with the Mets.
Yeah,
where that report came out that other teams and those deals were never available.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing, which is why I think Bellinger ultimately will end up with the Yankees. I don't think he's going to have a better spot. Now, maybe there are longer deals. I would bet anything. I'm with you. I don't believe that those longer deals are for the same AAV. That's what I would say. So the Yankees are probably sitting at the highest AAV for 5 years, and they say, take it or leave it, or good luck beating this. And I don't think Bellinger's going to beat it, so I think he'll be back. But if I were them, I would be going harder after Kyle Tucker. I just think he's the better player.
All around is a better player, or you think – because I think their window's like 3-4 years max with Judge and Cole like at the end of their primes right now. So do you think for the next 3 or 4 years, Tucker is still the better player than Bellinger, or do you think for the long haul, Tucker's a better player?
I think what makes Bellinger more appealing, well, 2 things. Number one, he's done it in New York and in that lineup, okay? So that's a big, big check mark, whereas with Kyle Tucker, we know he's a good player, but can he handle New York the first year in New York? Like, there are always those question marks that are going to come with guys for the first time here. But the other thing is Bellinger's versatility. Tucker definitively cannot play center. He cannot play first, and he's not the outfielder that Bellinger is. So for those reasons, I can understand why the Yankees prefer the comfort of bringing Bellinger back. If you just put those 2 players, though, up against each other, I just think Tucker is the far more impactful offensive player at the very least and can do some of the other things as well. It's not just like he's a stiff. He can run. He's not going to be bad in the outfield. He's just not as versatile as Bellinger. So if the Yankees draw their line saying, all right, well, here we are with Bellinger, we want him back, but we're not going beyond this, why wouldn't the natural pivot be to Kyle Tucker, a guy who you wanted anyway a year ago?
Yeah.
So here's a fun question. Can you think of a take that you've had that aged the worst? Could be any sport. Doesn't have to be baseball.
That aged the worst. I mean, the one that I'm probably most known for is the NL East is over. Yeah. But I don't even think, first of all, I don't do the hot take stuff. I give strong opinion. I mean, people say that that's hot take, but I don't make it up to say, oh, you know what? Here's what's going to gain traction. Let me say the Mets are going to win the NL East. I said it because I really believed that they were going to run away with it at that time in 2022. That one stuck with me the most. I've had some other, I mean, obviously you do it long enough, you're going to have some, maybe one that people don't know about or weren't as familiar with, because I did this back in 2013. I said that I would not trade Matt Harvey for Mike Trout straight up.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
that's a bad one. But I mean, that's going. Even I probably had some negative Ohtani stuff, like, oh, who needs Ohtani? Those were probably some. But
a lot of people had negative Ohtani stuff when he first came over.
I know Francesca has a popular one.
Yeah.
But for me, the NL East is over. Again, I stand by what I said at the time. I truly believed it. It just sucked that it went the way that it did. But you do this long enough, you give opinion. You're not graded on right or wrong. We all know that some things can be wrong. It's just how I feel. It's my opinion.
Yeah. You're completely correct on that. How do you feel that this year in particular on the Mets signing former Yankee players? Because it seems like it's become like a theme at this point. Like I've titled it as weird. I think it's gotten to the point where it's crossed over as it's a little weird at this point. It's multiple names, multiple players. Do you feel the same way, or do you think it just happens to be coincidence that the Mets like all these guys that happen to be ex-Yankees?
What I think is happening is that both teams, and they're not alone, but in this particular case, we're talking about the Mets and Yankees, they use the same data, the same metrics, the same analytics, so they all like the same players. But I would say that I think I don't know if I'd use weird. It's annoying to me when it's the guys like Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams, who give me some of the other ones who they had. Like
Mendoza's your manager.
Yeah, Mendoza manager. I mean, Soto's obviously a totally different animal. That one I love.
Yeah, that's different.
The other ones are like, come on. There's more. Severino was one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like the Mets have done this. Now they're using the Yankees as like a breeding ground. Okay, well, they can perform in New York, which I get, but like, did you really need Devin Williams and Luke Weaver after signing Severino, Clay Holmes? Like, it's a little much. Sign somebody from somewhere else, for goodness sake.
So, okay, this is an interesting question, but I thought it would be fun to ask. What's more stressful right now, being a Mets fan with hope or a Yankees fan with expectations?
I mean, I always appreciate the expectations from the Yankees. Like, the Mets should get to that point that I will not accept anything less than the expectations, World Series or bust. So I love that the Yankees fans at least have that. Now, the Yankee organization can say it. I'm still trying to adapt to the Yankees not acting in accordance with those expectations. They get to the World Series, they lose Juan Soto to the Mets. Like, that doesn't happen. It never happened before, and now that happened. And then they go, okay, well, plan B, we're going to be better. And guess what? You weren't. You didn't get back to the World Series. You didn't even win the division. And then from there, they haven't done anything to even get better from where they were a year ago. So it's like they're taking a step backwards, and they really believe that they're better than they are. So, I mean, I think it's pathetic for the Mets not to have the highest of expectations, but they're not on the same level where the Yankees are, which is much closer, sustained success. The Mets don't have the sustained success that the Yankees have. So they're both equally frustrating, but I would be, I think, more frustrated from a Yankee standpoint only because I do feel like the Mets identified a problem with their core. They broke it up. They're going all in, trying to fix it. The Yankees are kind of standing pat saying, okay, well, we believe in this group. They bring Grisham back. They're offering Bellinger what they want. Where are they getting significantly better from where they were a year ago? Why aren't they even involved in Tucker? That to me is frustrating for the high-end New York Yankees.
Sal, we appreciate all the time. Absolutely. Again, so much respect to your career at WFAN. You should be very proud of the work that you did there. And we love seeing an SNY. Is there something new on the horizon besides SNY going on right now? Are there plans for the future for something else?
You know, I have a couple of thoughts of things that maybe I want to do and a couple of different options potentially. But right now, you know, I'm enjoying. Everybody's like, oh, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And you got to remember, now I loved having two jobs. Don't get me wrong, but working two jobs is working two jobs. So, and I put everything I had into each job. So I'm kind of enjoying going back a little bit and just having the one job right now with SNY while spending time with my family and enjoying that. We had the holidays, obviously, while contemplating what I'm going to do next. So it's been an interesting month, to say the least, but I don't have any definitive plans yet on what else I'm going to do aside from SNY moving forward.
Whatever it is, we certainly look forward to it. Sal, thank you for the time.
Thank you, guys. It was great catching up. Appreciate it.
What a great spot from Sal Licata that I'm sure you've heard a lot over the years at WFAN. No longer affiliated with them, but obviously you see him all over SNY, Baseball Night in New York. He's all over TV. I'm sure you've seen his face at a bar here and there on SNY, while every single bar in New York City seems to have SNY on. Stacey, full disclosure to all of our listeners out there, because we are as honest as humanly possible on this show. For some reason, every guest that wanted to come on Locked On Yankees during our interview series this offseason was available last week. And that I don't know why. That's the week of January 10th to the 18th. They were all available during that time. So me and Stacey, I rushed home from my 9 to 5, and Stacey was hustling through all her editing work throughout the day. just to be able to get all of these interviews in. We did about 786 interviews throughout the entire week. It was exhausting, but we got all of them done. And Sal Licata was one of them, which happened obviously before the Bo Bichette and the Kyle Tucker news broke. So that's why you heard some of those things. It is still cool, I think, and valuable to hear his take on that stuff based on what happened, because you can kind of see where his mindset was and what the mindset was compared to what the teams did when they signed those players. So I do think there's a lot of value in there. If you've made it this far in the episode, you've heard it that way anyway. So I'm not convincing you to go back and hear it, but there is value in hearing that kind of stuff. I do want to mention this though. And we released a bonus episode, if you saw, of just me for about 10 minutes ranting about the Kyle Tucker and the Cody Bellinger stuff. A lot of you commented on that. I did see it, and it was very interesting. So thank you for leaving your comments and your opinions on what you thought of that episode. I will say this, from a Yankee perspective of all these signings that have gone on, I think this makes the Cody Bellinger signing a lot more difficult. And I think if Cody Bellinger wanted to sign his deal with the Yankees, and he very well may want to still sign his deal with the Yankees, but if he did, I think there's more of a reason for Scott Boras to say, let's maybe hold off for a second.
Yep.
Let's give it a few weeks. Let's put a little more pressure on the Yankees. And listen, I don't understand why the New York Mets didn't give Cody Bellinger that money. Like, I don't get it. It makes no sense to me, because if he fits their roster way more, and he still does fit their roster a lot, so maybe they go after him. I think the Dodgers are likely out, but I thought the Dodgers were out on many guys before, and they wound up giving them a ton of money. So we'll see what winds up happening. But I don't know if the Yankees' original offer for just over $30 million at 5 years it is going to tickle the fancy of Cody Bellinger anymore, when I think if you raise that deal at $34 million a few weeks ago, that probably gets the deal done. And I think you're in a weird spot right now where they may have to overly aggressively pay Cody Bellinger at this point just to kind of save their offseason. Do you disagree by shaking your head?
I don't know. Like, do you think if there wasn't a threat of a lockout that the Yankees would offer him like a 1-year deal with like an exorbitant AAV?
like I'd be, to be honest with you, I'd be okay with that at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say, here's the thing. If everyone that watches Locked On Yankees watches other sports, obviously, right? So we've seen crazy stuff happen, right? You're all aware of what happens in March Madness, and you're all aware of what happens in the NBA and the NHL, and you're watching the NFL postseason right now. Like, crazy stuff happens. I think the Dodgers are so good at who is beating them in the postseason from like a sports analyst's perspective. But anything can happen in the postseason. Like, it is the crapshoot thing. It does annoy us, but there is partial truth to it, right? Like, weird stuff happens. Teams lose games they shouldn't lose. If Orion Kirkring doesn't throw that ball into Mars last postseason, the Phillies might have beat the Dodgers. Right. So, like, weird stuff happens. The Blue Jays almost beat the Dodgers. The Yankees theoretically could win a World Series next year. They're not doing that without Cody Bellinger. Like, they're just not. Unless Anthony Volpe like lands from Mars on a winter vacation last year and hits 330 next year out of nowhere, they're not winning the World Series without Cody Bellinger. So, like, if you offer Cody Bellinger a 1-year deal for like $48 million, which it sounds insane.
It's insane. That's insane. Yes.
Do you disagree with it at this point? Just to save your season? If you're going to get locked out in 2027 anyway, why not make a crazy AAV deal, eat the luxury tax, and like, see what it gets you?
I don't think it even needs to be 40, 48. Like, even
I just threw that number out in the wind.
But even like 36 or 38, something like that. I mean, is it so terrible to have him back for 1 year, knowing what he can do in the lineup?
See, the only reason I threw out 48 is because I think it needs to be somewhere between Tucker and Bichette. Like, if he's going to sign a 1-year deal, I don't think he's taking less than Bichette.
Right.
I don't. Who just signed for 42. So what if it's 45? Let's just like lower the number a little bit.
See, the Mets and the Blue Jays, the Mets and the Dodgers just screwed the Yankees.
Did they? No. Here's the thing. Did they? This is an $8 billion organization. Forbes values the Yankees at $8 billion.
Is not worth $43 million a year.
Neither is Bo Bichette.
Right. That's why I'm saying
$42 million.
What are Mets doing signing him for that much money? Because now Cody Bellinger's like, ooh, look what I could get. I thought I could only get 32 a year, and now it looks like I can get at least 42 a year.
I'll give you one on the reversal. Aaron Judge isn't worth $40 million a year. He's worth about 80. So like, I can't sit here and give you an argument against one of these things. Like, I can't, but here's the thing. Like, if that's going to drive the price of Cody Bellinger and they're willing to just test their efforts, like, I don't think the Yankees have a chance of winning a World Series next year without Cody Bellinger in their lineup. I don't. And with who's available at this point, unless there's some magical trade that's hiding in the distance, and I don't even know who that potential guy could be available at this point.
Right.
I don't know what move they're making to replace Cody Bellinger at this point. Like, they're not going out and getting Bichette anymore, obviously. They're not bringing in Kyle Tucker. Who's that player?
But the idea of, oh, well, they'll just replace Cody Bellinger with Jason Dominguez and bring up Spencer Jones.
You can't take that risk if you're going after a world championship.
No.
And I'm not saying they're World Series favorites either, but right now they're listed as the second highest favorite. Right now. So, like, someone smarter than all of us thinks that the Yankees are still competitive and thinks that the Yankees are still a championship contender. And like, I do think they're a championship contender. I think there's obvious flaws in this roster, but there are people that are much smarter than us who think that they're going to compete at a very high level next year.
So like you just said, crazy things have happened in the playoffs. Teams that you don't expect to even make it past the wild card round win the World Series, like the Nationals in 2019. Did anyone really think the Nationals were going to beat the Astros in that World Series?
I'll give you one better. Who in their right mind had Rangers Diamondbacks a few years ago in the World Series? Like, no one saw that coming. So, like, it does annoy me when you hear the crapshoot comments. Like, that stuff does annoy me.
Because the Yankees should not be relying on the crapshoot. The Yankees should be doing what the Dodgers are doing, and to a certain level what the Mets are doing, and going out and getting these guys and just signing them to these deals and not caring.
I think you should exhaust every single option imaginable to make the to dim the chances of that being a crapshoot as much as possible. Right? Like, lower the percentages of anything crazy happening as much as possible by just collecting as much talent as humanly possible. Like, I don't like the excuse of, oh, it's a crapshoot, so you never know. You still have to stack your roster with a ton of talent. And the Dodgers and Mets clearly have taken that strategy, and the Yankees haven't. But besides, like, there is some truth to it, is what I'm saying. Like, it is a crapshoot.
Sure.
It truly is. We've noticed it in years past. I mean, did anyone have Sam Darnold one game away from the Super Bowl? Any point if you're a Jets fan listening to this podcast? Like, no one had that happening. So I'm not sitting here saying it's not a crapshoot, but you have no chance without Cody Bellinger.
Right.
Legitimately. So, like, I just, to me, you have to make it happen at this point. And yeah, these two signings have screwed you. And maybe if you gave Cody Bellinger what he or Scott Boras, whatever you choose to believe, maybe if you gave him what he was asking for a week ago, this would have happened. Like, you would have had Cody Bellinger, and then these crazy signings still happen for Bichette and Tucker, but the Yankees can sit back pretty and get their value. I mean, this is the same. When you buy things early, Stacey, more often than not, you get the value, right? And the Yankees chose to not do that. They chose to take their chances. Now they're getting screwed. They're not getting a discount anymore. And you know what? That's the risk that they've taken. I don't want to hear they got priced out of Cody Bellinger at this point, though. This is an $8 billion organization. I don't want to hear what Hal Steinbrenner's net worth is. He owns an organization that's worth $8 billion. Do I need to repeat myself? Like, they can sign Cody Bellinger to a crazy AAV short-term deal, and Bellinger can't complain if the Yankees show up, back and say, "Hey, this is the new deal we're presenting. How about 2 years, $100 million?" I know that's crazy, crazy, crazy numbers. I'm not saying that's a deal Bellinger's worth, but my point to the argument is, this is what Tucker got. Tucker and Bichette got less, but like, these are the crazy deals those guys are getting offered. We'll give you a short-term deal now for crazy AAV if that's what you're looking for. And you're giving him many options. You want to take the 5-year deal for $32 million? Here. You want to take the short-term deal for 2 years and a high AAV? Here. Give him options, but blanket, they have to get this done. They have to get this done. There is no other exception at this point.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you for tuning into today's Locked On Yankees. We hope you enjoyed our interview with Sal Licata, because we enjoyed our interview with Sal Licata. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Yankees so you get all the latest episodes. And can we tease the next guest, even though the episode's not going to be up till next Monday? But let's tease it anyway. Okay.
Go ahead.
We have an ESPN legend joining us on next Monday's show. It was a fun conversation about baseball, about history, and we heard some really interesting stories that we've never heard before from behind the scenes that we think you guys are going to really love. Shall we say who it is, or we're going to tease it this way?
Tim Kirkjian is going to be joining the show. An absolute honor for us to just have him on and talk to him. He was great on camera. He was great off camera. He was an unbelievably entertaining person. You guys are going to really enjoy the interview, so stay tuned. I think we'll release a clip or two of the interview before we actually have him on, if that helps you guys. If that can give you a little lick of the lollipop before you get the whole thing.
Yeah, we're going to do some teases for you because we just really enjoyed. I mean, we enjoy every interview that we do, but Tim Kirchin was just a blast.
Legendary.
Yeah.
Legendary.
All right. So what else can you guys do? Oh, yes. You can follow us on Instagram. I'm noticing that a lot of you are. So thank you for that. We're at Locked On Yankees, all one word. We're also on we're on TikTok at @LockedOn_Yankees. And if you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Yankees ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonyankees.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen Locked On MLB with Sully. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you guys Wednesday.